Nigel, how pleased were you to agree a new contract with the club earlier this week?
Yeah, we've been having a sort of informal chats for a few weeks, so it was nice to get it all agreed, and just one or two little minor things to get sorted, but I think we're just about there with it and agreed in principle, so we didn't want to go anywhere. I don't really like the term unfinished business, but we feel as though we're close. We have been for 2 seasons. And without the chronic injury list this year, I think we'd have definitely been in the top 7, if not challenging the top 3.
Were you heartened by the reaction? Because the news seemed to be very well received by the faithful.
Oh, that's great. I wouldn't know about that, as you know, but I'll take your word for it, so that's good. I think in the last couple of seasons, we've tried to play in a certain way, which I think most of the supporters like to see and appreciate. We finished joint top goal scorers this season, conceded too many. Our home form's got to improve, but I think also from, again, gauging when we see the away support, the way that we approach games away from home. I think to have the best away record in the league and to win over 50% of your league games away from home is a brilliant achievement. So within the massive disappointment and the cruelest way of missing out by just 1 goal, there's so many positives, and I think the majority of our supporters will say, well, if we'd have had Lewis Reed, if we'd have had Callum Johnson, if we'd have had Alfie Kilgore all season, if Swanee had stayed fit, if Rhys Oates had stayed fit, then everybody can see that we would have had a few more points on the board.
I mean, the injury situation really was unprecedented. Is there anything that can be done about it, or is it just sheer bad luck?
We think it's just sheer bad luck. We sit down and we analyse the injuries and everything, and you look for patterns. There is no pattern. It was just too random. There's nothing to do with the training surfaces here, the kind of training. We only had a couple of Will Swan who stood on Hiram's ankle in training and was out for 3 months. That is just bad luck. The shoulder injuries, you can't legislate for them. Anthony's done his shoulder a couple of times. Rhys Oates with his ruptured pectoral muscle, and Callum Johnson, no problem. He's not being injured. Played all first half of the season at Ross County. He gets a couple of knocks. Lewis Reed never had more than a week or 2 out in 10 years. And then he's out for 3 months with a knee ligament injury. So there is, because of the variation of the injuries, honestly, it was just pure bad luck. And a lot of them just in games, the contact injuries. And we made so many substitutions, and 4 substitutions in the first half of games. That was incredible as well.
Let's move on and speak about the retained list, which was announced on Thursday. What deliberations did you make when deciding on your ultimate decisions? Well, most of the squad were under contract, of course.
Yeah, that's why we were quite relaxed going into the summer with the position. David obviously worked hard, and throughout you do your business throughout the season a lot of the times, and you make sure that those that you need are tied down on contracts, which they all are. And then it's just sort of the ones, Quinny and Perch at 37, we're not really giving them 3-year contracts. So hopefully we can get something sorted for those 2 to stay around. And then we've got Kieran Wallace and Jason Law, who probably will benefit from sort of going and playing really regular football somewhere. So we've left it sort of an open, sort of fluid situation with those 2, and we'll keep chatting in the next few weeks.
What about potential new targets? Have you identified which players you'd like to bring in?
Yes, yeah, we'd identified them in the sort of the usual sort of 2 lists that we have. We'd identified the majority of those, and we're working on them. Already made contact with their agents, and where possible the clubs. Some are under contract, some aren't. So there's a bit of negotiating to do.
More news to come in due course, I imagine. What about the players who've returned to their parent clubs? Christy Pym, Riley Harbottle and Will Swan. Any of those likely to return?
Yeah, we're hopeful, but we have to wait until the respective clubs finish their seasons and find out which league they're going to be in, because that may well affect their decisions, and financially may have an impact as well. So until Peterborough are done in the playoffs one way or another, and Forest secure their status, then there's not an awful lot we can do.
Will you likely use the loan window again next season, regardless of whether it's those players or others?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it does any harm to get a couple of players, 2 or 3 or something, on loan. You see the benefit that we've had in the last couple of seasons. So it's a good way of getting youngsters from Premier League clubs certainly into the building. And you see where Will Swan and Riley Harbottle, and then how well they've done, and then you can use it to get an experienced goalkeeper like Christy Pym in as well. So I think it's absolutely vital for for clubs in League Two, well, all over really, League One, League Two, to be able to use the loan market.
Just to refine your search, it is, as you've intimated previously, well, you certainly did after the match on Monday against Colchester, it is defenders that you're looking for in the main?
Yes. That's where we have our injuries. First of all, Elliot Hewitt not back until well into the new year. Macca's going to be missing the pre-season and the start of the season, so we have to address that. So that's made it a little bit more urgent and increased probably by one or two the recruitment numbers that we'll need in that area. But we've conceded too many goals, and we need to sort that out, and I don't think we'll be far away. If there was another Alfie Kilgore out there, we'd be looking for him, or we are looking for him. But we've identified targets, and we certainly need a left back coming in to challenge Macca. It was so difficult last season with him being, so good. 2 seasons ago now, whatever, and you don't think he's going to miss over half the season. He contributed nearly 20 goals in that season, and he's got 1, I think, and 1 assist this season. So he's been in injury, dogged by injury. So we need to get fit for September, October, whenever. But we need somebody to come in, and we need a centre half or two as well.
What about in midfield? Is that pretty settled?
Yeah, we're okay in there really. If something crops up, we'll look at it, depending on Stephen Quinn's situation. But we just said with Anthony Hartigan getting back on the pitch now, and Lewis Reed, I think people have forgotten a bit about Anthony. He was very good in the first half of the season, and then out with needed his shoulder operation. But lovely to see him back on the pitch at Colchester. And then Lewis Reed, just getting 2 good footballers back on the pitch. And then you've got Hiram, we've got Ollie Clark, if Quinny stays, and you've got George Maris can do it. We're pretty okay in there.
What about up the top?
Similar, really. We'd love Will Swan to return in some capacity, and but add to that, you've got Davis Keller-Dunn, you've got Lucas, who's had a great season. Oates, he's had stop-start with injury. George Maris can go up there. I think the emergence of James Gale probably encourages all as well, and means that we don't have to go and get another young striker, because from what we've seen, he's as likely to get goals at this level as anybody, and I think he's improved this season. I think he will only improve with a good pre-season under his belt. And we've got Jordan as well, who's sort of turned into Mr. Utility Man for us, who's playing similar to what Lucas used to do for us at Burton, almost playing in every position and filling in, and played a lot of games this season.
We move on to other news. Let's speak about the 6 young players who have signed their first professional deals with the club today. What do you have to say about that?
Well, it's brilliant that we're keeping them under our umbrella, and they're going to have this sort of little group that will be mainly attached with the academy, the under-18s, and then we'll dip into them as we've done this year, as and when we need them. We'll get a sort of games programme for them. But it's good thinking, that we invest in these lads for a few years, and sort of it's 18, you say, well, sorry, not quite good enough. We're always one of the mind, and I know Steve Hymas here and Richard Cooper, that let's keep them a little bit longer, and let's just see if somebody breaks through, and they can all develop at different ages and at different stages. So we always want to give them that extra year, an extra chance to prove themselves.
What about the pre-season schedule, the fixture list? Is that pretty much sorted and arranged?
Yeah, I think we're about done. We've got some good games. We're off up to Scotland again for a few days. We haven't got a game up there yet, so we might be playing sort of one on the training facilities there. We're not sure. We were hoping to play Dundee, actually, with the contact with Gary Bowyer, but he's just left, so so I don't think we'll be doing that now, and which is incredible. That they get rid of him after he's just got them promoted. So we've got a couple of good ones. We're going to Retford first of all, I think, and I think we're going to Alfreton. I think we've got Rotherham coming to our place as well, and 1 or 2 others in place. So that'll be coming out very shortly. Lads are back on 1st of July, Saturday the 1st of July, which gives us 5 weeks, and we're going to have a good old proper pre-season. So they're going to be working unbelievably hard. Last season was very disrupted, from obviously losing the playoff final, the devastation of that, to just a short break, early start to the season, and all that was far from ideal. And in some ways, although it's been random, it's probably contributed to the injuries a little bit. So I think we're going to be a lot stronger and a lot fitter come the start of the season.